Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. You know, guys, we don't stray from the college football talk too much here on the channel, but today we're making a special exception because tomorrow, the Final Four begins in the NCAA tournament. Gonzaga, UCLA, Baylor, and Houston will all be battling it out for a spot in the national championship game, and we wanted to give you just a brief overview and of course predictions on both of these games, what we think is going to happen on Saturday and who we have meeting in the national championship on Monday. This has been one of the wildest and I think most exciting tournaments we have seen in recent memory, especially considering everything that's been going on with COVID. And these four teams are absolutely very deserving of being in the spot and should provide both very exceptional and exciting games on Saturday night. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first matchup, the first Final Four game on Saturday. That's going to be Houston, the 2 seed, going up against Baylor, a number 1 seed. So Houston versus Baylor, an old Southwest Conference clash, if you will, and I love that. I mean, we didn't know that was going to happen when the bracket was structured, but that's what's so great about the NCAA tournament is sometimes you get to see old conference rivals go up against each other. Sometimes you get to see interconference rivals go up against each other in an Elite 8 or a Final Four or something like that. But we're getting to see Houston and Baylor, two teams that are phenomenal defensively. Two teams that are just absolutely insane defensively. Houston allowing just 55.8 points per game. Baylor allowing just 60.3 points per game. So points are very hard to come by when you face off against these two schools. You look at what they've done in the NCAA tournament so far. Houston, the most points they've allowed so far in this tournament was 61 points in their Elite 8 matchup against Oregon State. Baylor, the most points they allowed in this tournament was 72 against Arkansas in the Elite 8 as well. And the Bears still won that game by 9, 81-72. The BPI, the Basketball Power Index, is giving Baylor a 52.3% chance to win this game. So I am here to tell you that I do think Houston and Baylor is probably going to be the better of the two matchups on Saturday. We'll talk about UCLA and Gonzaga here in a second, but if you've watched the Bulldogs and how well they have played over the course of this entire season into the NCAA tournament, UCLA is going to be up against a lot. But we'll talk on them in a second. I do believe this is going to be the best game of the day, though. Now let's take a look at Baylor. Again, this is a very brief overview. But a major reason why Baylor has thrived, not just in the tournament, but over the course of the entire season, people have put them up there with Gonzaga as the top 2 teams in the country, it's their guard play. Their guard play has been absolutely ridiculous with Jared Butler, Masio Teague, and Davion Mitchell all combining to average 46.4 points per game. That's the big 3 for Baylor. That's the key for Baylor. Without these guys, Baylor isn't in this position. And if you remember, all 3 of these players chose to come back after their season was cut short last year. Baylor was going to be a national title contender last year. We didn't have an NCAA tournament. All 3 of these players decided to come back to try to get the Bears to a national championship. They're already in their first Final Four since 1950. They can continue to make history with a win on Saturday. But the guard play is so key. Jared Butler leads the way with 16.5 points per game. And again, this team is just so difficult to stop. You look at Houston. Their star player, they've got some good guard play too, but the big player for them is Quentin Grimes. I wouldn't say Houston necessarily has a big 3 like Baylor. Quentin Grimes averaging 18 points per game, but when you look at Houston, what impresses me more than anything is just their size and their physicality. Yes, the defense has been phenomenal under Kelvin Sampson. He has done a great job with the Cougars. But it's their size and physicality on the boards that is what makes Houston so difficult to stop. The Cougars are averaging 40 rebounds per game, guys. 40 rebounds per game. So you're not going to get many offensive rebounds against Houston, but they will get offensive rebounds against you. So Baylor has to be prepared for that. And the Bears can certainly do that. The one concern I really have going into this game for Houston, more so than I do for Baylor, is look at the Cougars' path to the Final Four. This is a dang good basketball team. I'm not taking anything away from Houston here. But look at the path. There are 2 seeds. So they played the 15 seed Cleveland State in the first round. Okay, no big deal. Then they played the 10 seed Rutgers in the second round. Beat them 63-60. Barely escaped that game against the Scarlet Knights. They then beat the number 11 seed in the Sweet 16, Syracuse, 62-46. Then beat the number 12 seed, Oregon State, 67-61 in the Elite Eight. Houston has not played a team in this tournament that has had a single-digit seed. 15, 10, 11, 12. And again, they can't help that. That's what makes March Madness so great. So many upsets have happened within their region to get them to this point. But Baylor, as we know, is the most difficult team they are going to face maybe possibly all year long. And they have not really been tested that much within this tournament. And again, they barely escaped Rutgers. They really struggled. I mean, not struggled, but they almost blew their lead to Oregon State, led by 17 at half, only ended up winning by 6. Baylor, on the other hand, they beat Hartford, no big deal, but then beat number 9 Wisconsin, number 5 Villanova, number 3 Arkansas. All very talented teams, all much better teams, I would say, than the ones that Houston faced. So that's something to watch out for here. It's going to be a very low-scoring game, I think, a very physical game, but will Houston's lack of competition so far come back to bite them in this game against the Bears? Personally, I think it will. I am predicting Baylor to win this first Final Four game and advance to the national championship game. Again, it will be close, but the Bears' defense is just way too much. Their guard play, to me, is better than Houston, and Houston has been able to rely on those rebounds, have been able to rely on the offensive boards against these other opponents. They're not going to be able to do that against Baylor, at least not as much as they have in the past. The Bears are going to the national championship. They will punch their first ticket in the first Final Four game. Let's go over to the other one. Right after that, we've got number 11, UCLA. The 11 seed UCLA Bruins going up against the number 1 overall seed in the Gonzaga Bulldogs. And UCLA, guys, has been the Cinderella team of this tournament. I mean, there have been so many big upsets. So many big upsets over the course of this tournament. Syracuse made a great run. Oregon State made a phenomenal run to the Elite Eight. We saw a handful of other upsets here and there in the round of 64, round of 32, but none, I think, has been as good as UCLA, becoming the first team to go from the first 4 to the Final Four, the first team to do that since VCU did it back in 2011. So it has been 10 years since we have seen a team go from the first 4 to the Final Four. And the road there has been extremely difficult. That's what's made this run so impressive. They beat number 11 Michigan State in that first 4 game. Beat number 6 BYU. Beat 14th seeded Abilene Christian, who beat Texas in the first round, a 3 seed. Beat number 2 Alabama. Survived that buzzer beater at the end of regulation. Dominated the Tide in overtime. And then beat number 1 Michigan in a low-scoring slugfest. What was it, 51-49? I mean, you talk about defense, UCLA has it. That's why they are so far. That's why they're in the Final Four. Yes, they can score, but their defense has been the strength. They're allowing just 63.2 points per game. They're allowing just 63.2 points per game in this tournament, guys. Or just over the course of the season, excuse me. 63.2 points per game. They have not won a national championship since 1995. They're a very rich program. Mick Cronin has done a phenomenal job with this program. No one expected UCLA to get here. UCLA almost didn't even make the tournament to begin with. No one definitely expected them to make the Final Four. But can they beat Gonzaga? Can they beat the Bulldogs and Mark Few? Let's look at the Bulldogs. This is a team that for about 20 years now has always been pretty dang good. Always a pretty high seed, but they've never won a national championship. It continues to elude them. You know, every year Gonzaga is going to be a Final Four contender, but they just haven't been able to get there. They've only been to 1 national championship. That was a few years ago where they fell to North Carolina. Only been to 1 national championship. They're 1 game away now from getting to their second, hopefully winning their first. Many people consider this to be the best, one of the best teams, not just in Gonzaga history, but college basketball history. This Final Four matchup, the BPI, is giving Gonzaga an 89.7% chance to win. That's pretty ridiculous for a Final Four game. I'm not saying UCLA has no chance, but it's going to take a game of a lifetime to upset the Bulldogs. And again, just look at the numbers here. Gonzaga's averaging 91.6 points per game. They're allowing just 64.3 points per game. They've won all of their NCAA tournament games by an average of 24 points per game. And they've got so many players and so many weapons left and right, you don't even know who to defend and how to stop them. Jalen Suggs is averaging just 14 points per game. Drew Timm, the forward, is leading with 19 points per game, shooting 65% from the field. You've got Corey Kispert in there as well, averaging 18.9 points per game. That's a big 3 that, again, is very similar to Baylor's. Not all guards, but a big three that can match up very well with Baylor, and Baylor can match up very well with the Bulldogs. And that's exactly what I think is going to happen, guys. I do think that this is going to be a Baylor versus Gonzaga national championship on Monday night. I feel very confident in the Bulldogs taking care of the Bruins. Again, I do think Houston and Baylor, the 2 seed and the 1 seed, that's going to be your best Final Four matchup of the day. But again, it is March. Anything can happen. But we've got the Bears and the Bulldogs meeting in the national championship on Monday night, and I am going to go ahead and pick Gonzaga to win that national championship on Monday. I know it's not that exciting. Everybody has expected the Bulldogs to win the Natty. And again, rightfully so. This could go down as one of the best teams in college basketball history if they can get past the Bruins and, of course, if they can take down the Baylor Bears. And we certainly believe it will be just that. So, guys, stay tuned. Enjoy the games this Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. And enjoy the national championship on Monday. We will not have a live stream that day, so you can all go enjoy the game. We'll pick it right back up on Tuesday. Plenty of college football coverage coming your way and a live stream soon to follow. So enjoy the games, enjoy the weekend. As always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert. Make sure to check out everything down in that description below for exclusive college football content year-round. That includes our brand new Gridiron Expert podcast. A brand new episode was posted just yesterday. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out. I promise you're going to love it. All the links for that down in the description below. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.